Pinocchio was originally written in 1883 by an Italian author named Carlo Collodi. Nick is vigorously writing this down. There's a lot, Nick, so I don't know if I'd worry too much about all the details, but I appreciate the effort. Nick, how many Detention prizes have you won? One. And how many times have you taken notes? Like every time? You're a good egg, Nick. You're a good egg. Originally written in 1883 by Italian author Carlo Collodi. It began as a series in an Italian newspaper, like a comic strip kind of thing, but it was popular enough to become its own novel. Collodi's opening line in the novel was this: "Once upon a time, there was a piece of wood." The original story was actually pretty dark. It was pretty scary and even violent at times. In the original story, Pinocchio smashes and kills Jiminy Cricket with a hammer as soon as Jiminy Cricket tells him not to do something. I didn't write it. I'm just saying that's what happened.
Is there a movie about that one?
Not that. I don't think that one. I don't know. But then he comes back to life and still tries to help Pinocchio as a ghost cricket. All right. Pinocchio was first seen in the motion picture in 1911. It was a silent film called The Adventures of Pinocchio, which in the film itself was actually lost. Like they couldn't find like the physical film. You guys know that movies and pictures were on physical film at one time? Are you aware of that? Okay. So the original film was lost. So it was in 1911 when this came out. It was lost, and the original film was not found until 1994 when they found some negative reels in the basement of one of the Disney archives. And oh, this is the actual, not the Disney original, but this is the original Pinocchio from 1911. Pretty crazy. There's so much time. 94 is when they found it. So originally in 1911, and it was lost until 1994. Isn't that crazy? The name and the story of Pinocchio is within what's called the public domain. Do you guys know what public domain means? You ever heard that? So basically that means when a character or someone invented, like Superman, for example, once that character goes into what's called public domain, that character cannot be copyrighted. So it means that any person, any company, any production company, any author can use the likeness and names of said character and make a profit off of it. They don't have to obtain the copyrights to it. Does that make sense? Some of the characters that are in the public domain, you may not have known this, but some other popular just pop culture characters, King Kong, Dracula, the original Steamboat Willie, Mickey Mouse. Now that just came into public domain like a year and a half ago or something. Robin Hood, Sherlock Holmes, and characters from The Wizard of Oz are all in the public domain. So anybody, even like you guys, if you guys ever wanted to write a story about King Kong fighting Robin Hood with the characters of The Wizard of Oz in a story, you could, and you could even use their names and likenesses and make money off it because they're in what's called the public domain. Does anyone know what the most famous song is that's in the public domain? Does anyone know? It's a song.
Disney song, right?
Nope.
It's not a Disney.
It's a song you guys sing throughout the year periodically. Happy birthday. Very good. So that song, Happy Birthday to You, you know that song? It's in the public domain. And so if you wanted to record Happy Birthday for some reason, you could and put your name on it and you could make money off it. That's what the public domain means. So Pinocchio is in the public domain, which means there's lots of movies, lots of books, lots of coloring books and stuff about Pinocchio because you don't have to pay the copyrights to the original inventor or author of that character. Did it just get brighter in here?
Yeah.
All right. I like it. So in 1940, Disney released their version of Pinocchio, and it actually became the standard. Yes, sir?
Who made the song Happy Birthday?
I'm not sure. I don't know. That'd be fun to look up, though. Yeah.
Look it up.
All right, now. In 1940, that was the clip that you guys saw. 1940, that's Disney's version of Pinocchio, and it really has become the standard. A lot of times when you think of Pinocchio, you think of Disney's version of Pinocchio, the clip that you saw. When the Shrek movies came out, there's the character Pinocchio in Shrek. That's how they could put that's how they could put Pinocchio in Shrek, because he was in the public domain. And so they didn't have to pay any rights to put that character in the Shrek movies, okay? The ideas of wishing upon a star and following your heart or following your conscience comes from Disney's version of Pinocchio. That's where those things came from. Now, in the Disney version of Pinocchio, this is basically how the story goes. And it's a little convoluted a little bit, and so I'm just gonna kind of roll through this. Basically, this is what happens. A lonely carpenter, or like woodworker, Geppetto, he creates a marionette puppet. That's something, you know what marionette puppets are with the strings? Yeah. You know what I'm talking about? Okay. So he made some puppets. He also made clocks. He also made knickknacks, that sort of thing. But he was a lonely guy. He didn't have a wife. He didn't have any kids. He created this marionette puppet, and he wished upon a star that he would have a son. He would have a real son, basically. It's kind of interesting that the name Pinocchio, it means this. So the pin part means tree, like wood, tree. And occhio means in the eye of. So Pinocchio means he was made in the eye of a tree, or made of wood, basically. That's what it means. Or made in the eye of a pine or pin. Geppetto wishes upon a star to have him become a real boy so he could have a son. And a blue fairy visits and grants life to Pinocchio. He becomes a sentient being. Do you guys know what sentient means? Does anybody know? Do you know, Logan?
No, I was gonna ask you.
All right, hold on just 1 second. So sentient, what that means is you're aware of your existence. You're aware of the world around you, okay? And you can respond to it. It means you have thoughts, you have emotions, that sort of thing. Is a tree alive?
Yeah.
It is alive. Is it sentient?
No.
Doesn't appear to be, because we can chop them down. They're just out there in the cold or in the hot and all that, and they don't respond to the world around them. Think about an insect, a fly. Is it alive?
Yeah.
Yes. Is it sentient?
Yes.
It appears to be, because if you try to grab them, they fly away. They respond to pain, that sort of
If you
thing.
think about it, trees are sentient too. If they're going by, they respond to their environment, because the leaves fall off and they die.
Sure, those are just life cycles, though, but like you can't go up to them and try to get them to.
There's also new studies saying that plants and stuff communicate to each other.
Have you ever seen the movie The Happening?
No.
Okay, well that's what it's all about. But it's kind of a scary movie, kind of a dumb movie though too. Tyler, then I'll come to you, Logan. Go ahead, Tyler.
Your outfit.
You always ask. No, it's not. It's just no. Does it kind of look Pinocchio-ish? A little bit, yeah. A little bit. Oh, more Geppetto-ish. Maybe if I had suspenders on, that's what I should have done. That's what I should have done, yeah. Logan?
Okay, so about the blue fairy, is that part of the Tinkerbell?
Good question, but no. It's a different universe, but good question, though. The blue fairy is, they're not little, tiny, like, bug fairies like in Peter Pan. This is a full person that...
So, like,
you ever seen Wizard of Oz? How they're like a little glimmer of light, and then they appear as like a person? That's what she does. She like is a glimmer of light in the stars, then she comes and appears as a person. So. Okay, where are we at here? So the blue fairy comes and she grants Pinocchio life and makes him sentient. So he can sense the world around him. He can respond to the world around him. He's aware of his own existence, that sort of thing. With this newfound ability to talk, Pinocchio asks the fairy, "Am I a real boy? Am I a real boy?" He asks her that. And she says, "Not yet. You're alive, you're sentient, but you're not a real boy yet." What she says is, you have to prove yourself to be brave, to be truthful, and unselfish. And if you do those things, the blue fairy says, you will become a real boy. Now, Geppetto, though, sees him immediately as real, which is kind of interesting. And we know this because the very next day, he starts a normal life with still this wooden sentient puppet. And we know that because he sends him to school alone. Which I always, even when I was a kid, I remember watching that part and I'm like, how does he know to do anything? You know, and here's like, as soon as, it's kind of funny, as soon as Geppetto could, he sent him out the front door, which I thought was kind of hilarious, actually, of how it worked. But Geppetto sees him as real, sends him off to live a normal life, to go to school, and along the road, we meet our first villains. And that was the scene that you guys just saw with the fox and the cat. He's on his way to school, and they encounter him. There's the fox, his name is Honest John, which is basically like a play on who he really is, because is he honest? No, he's not, but he says he's honest, okay? And I don't remember what the cat's name is. I don't even know if they give him a name. They entice him to not go to school, to not go back home, but to go with him to, or go with them to where? Did you catch it in the clip? Where to? Pleasure Island. They say there's something wrong with you, you're stressed out, you're allergic to life or something. They make up some lie. You're allergic. They didn't say to what. What you need is a vacation to go to Pleasure Island. Yes, sir?
What's Pleasure Island?
I'm going to share with you. I promise I will. I'm going to get there. You want to know now? I'm on the edge of my seat. I want to know now. Along the road, he encounters the fox, Honest John, and the cat. They entice him to go to Pleasure. Well, it's first they entice him to go to this traveling play puppet show. And that was our second villain. His name is Stromboli. And with Stromboli and the fox and the cat, they trick him into going to Pleasure Island. And Pleasure Island actually is a trap. There's a fourth bad guy. This is where I say it gets a little convoluted. There's a fourth bad guy who's actually trying to round up children. And he not eat them. He changes them, and I'm going to get to it in a minute. He actually change into donkeys, and I'm going to show you how that happens. And then they're put to work, I think in the salt mines, some sort of mines or something. So what he does is he collects these kids, they get changed into donkeys, beasts of burden, and then he sells them to the mines. That's basically the trap. It's kind of, it's a child endangerment. It's really child trafficking, actually is what it is, in a 1940s Disney movie. So. He was the guy that was in the cart. Yeah, he's I think so, yeah. So what happens is, Pleasure Island, and Logan, this is what your question was. Pleasure Island, it's like an amusement park, but there's no rules, there's no staff around. No, there's actually these like shadow kind of creatures that you only see a few times that are kind of just sneaking around, but they're not helping the kids at all. They're actually working for the fourth bad guy in the movie. And in Pleasure Island, what they do is the boys go there and they just set them loose. They say, here's Pleasure Island, here's all the things you can do. There's rides, there's food. They supply them with cigars and beer, and they just say, have a good time.
I'm going.
But then the sinister plot begins to unravel, because Pinocchio, he makes this new friend, and the new friend is really into Pleasure Island. And he's like, come on, Pinocchio, let's go do all the things we're not supposed to. They're breaking glass and they're breaking stuff. They're getting into fights. They're drinking beer. They're just doing everything they can that really they knew they weren't supposed to, because they would not do that on the mainland. But as soon as they had opportunity to, on Pleasure Island, especially his friend, they just went crazy. And Pinocchio's kind of like, well, I guess so. I mean, I'm going to kind of participate, but really he was just kind of following after his friend. What happens is his friend then begins to become a donkey. And he grows ears, and he grows a snout, and he grows a tail, and then he has hooves for hands. And he gets really, really scared. And the last thing that his friend cries out in English before he can't talk is, "Mama," is what he says. He says, "Mama, mama." And it's kind of weird. You see him like being this like kind of troublemaker, this like leader, and he's fighting and he's doing things. But then when he gets scared, he cries out for who? His mama. His mama.
Just like Captain Hook.
It is kind of like Captain Hook. It is. Yes, sir?
So you were saying that the kids would get like kidnapped, trafficked,
Yep.
and then sent to a island.
Yep.
That was not me, sir.
Epstein's Island.
That was my question.
Nope. Yes, that's what I said. Was that your question?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So everything you said happened in that.
Well, in the story,
Yeah.
of course, yes.
That's a little sus, man.
It is, absolutely. And when I remember even watching as a kid, the part when they're on Pleasure Island, like, I think you're supposed to feel like that would be fun, kind of thing. Like that would be fun. But when I was a kid, I remember watching it, and I'm like, that's kind of scary. I mean, I didn't like it. It made me uncomfortable. Now, it's possible because of Pinocchio's maybe his partial innocence, or maybe because he wasn't the one like trying to lead doing the things there in Pleasure Island, he only turns into a partial donkey. He had ears and a tail, but that was really about it. He didn't fully turn into a donkey with the help of Jiminy Cricket, because in the Disney he didn't smash him. He was trying to follow him and trying to help him. They run away from Pleasure Island, and Pinocchio's transformation at that point stops. Now it doesn't go back, but it stops. He still has the ears, he still has the tail. They run up a rocky hill. They run up kind of like this little mountain, and they have to jump off the cliff of Pleasure Island into the ocean to escape. They have to run up this hill, run off this cliff in order for him to get off of Pleasure Island. The first place he goes is exactly where he should have went the first time. He tried to go directly to his house. He tried to go home. So he got in trouble, he got really scared, and the first place that he wanted to go was home. Well, when they get home, they realize that Geppetto, his father, was gone. The blue fairy reappears, and she communicates to him that your father left to go find you, and it's interesting that he went out in the sea to go find him. Where do you think he was headed if he went into the sea to find Pinocchio?
Pleasure Island.
Is that what you're gonna say? Yeah. It's okay. He was going to go to Pleasure Island. He knew where Pinocchio probably was headed. The end of the story, or the third act, is Pinocchio goes to rescue his father. His father gets swallowed by a whale. Does anyone know the whale's name? Monstro. It's like this mythical whale creature thing that is like really mean, and it swallows Geppetto. Pinocchio and Jiminy Cricket, they all try to rescue him. And what's interesting is the way that they get Monstro to spit him out is they start a fire that made smoke inside of Monstro, and he knew that would make him spit him out. Why do you think he knew that would make him spit him out? Why do you think? Right, but how would Pinocchio know that? I can't hear you, Landon. Well, right, but how would he know that is my question.
Because, well, like, it basically like makes it work or something like that, you know?
But how would he know that?
Where would he have retained that information?
Correct, JJ. Where would he have learned that? Pinocchio didn't read the book. Reading the book. Go ahead, JJ. Sure. Yeah. Okay. What was Pinocchio supplied with in Pleasure Island? Beer and cigars. All right, Tyler, I knew that's what you're gonna say. I knew that's what you're gonna say. So he was smoking cigars, and it probably made him not feel good. It made him feel sick. So he's like, you know what? I bet you this will work for Monstro. So they build a fire in Monstro, and it works. He's like coughing and all that, and he ends up spitting out Geppetto and Pinocchio and Jiminy Cricket, and they get to shore. But when they get to shore, Geppetto is looking for Pinocchio, and Pinocchio dies. It's not real clear in the movie, but in the story, that is what happens. He dies. At the next scene, you see Geppetto has brought Pinocchio all the way back to home. He's got him on the bed. He's still a puppy, still the wooden puppet, but there's no life in him. And Geppetto is weeping. And Geppetto says this, he says, "My boy, my brave little boy," as he's weeping. Then who do you think shows up? The blue fairy. She comes, she puts life back into Pinocchio, and she also makes him into a real boy. Because he did what? He showed himself to be
Worthy.
brave, truthful. He also
And
he apologized to his father for running out and not listening to him. He was truthful. He owned his mistakes.
Sacrifice yourself.
He was brave, truthful. And what was the third thing? Unselfish. Thank you. Thank you, Stefan.
And he sacrificed
Appreciate it.
himself.
And through that, through him being unselfish, he rescued his father, and he was unselfish. So he fulfilled what the Blue Fairy told him way back in the beginning of the story. And here's where the life lessons come from Pinocchio. You guys ready? The Blue Fairy tells Pinocchio he has to prove himself to be brave, truthful, and unselfish. Those three things.
Alright, but wouldn't honest be one of them too? Since like
Well, be truthful. Yeah.
unsuccessful.
He said something.
Did I say? I think I said. What did I say?
I think you said unsuccessful.
I said unsuccessful. That's what I said. I apologize. Thank you for correcting me. Let me start that part over. The Blue Fairy had originally told, I think I said to be successful, but whatever, it doesn't matter. The Blue Fairy tells Pinocchio he has to prove himself to be brave, to be honest or truthful, and unselfish. That's what he has to prove himself to be. And one day, if you do those things, you will become a real boy.
I'm not a real boy.
Now, real boy, what she means there is your true self. That's what she means. She doesn't really mean physically a human. She means your true self. Pinocchio wants to be the truest version of himself. That's what Geppetto wants. That's what the Blue Fairy wants. That's what your parents want. That's what my parents wanted, is for me to be the truest version of myself. That's the end goal. That's what they wanted. So here's the equation. I want to share these with you. Bravery is this. It's ready to face and endure danger or pain. You're ready to face and or endure danger or pain, to choose to willfully confront potential agony. That's what true bravery is. Bravery is not just not being afraid. We talked about that actually last week with the Hobbit. If you remember when he was in that scary tunnel, you guys remember that? We already talked about some of that. But where does it say that bravery is not being afraid? It doesn't. Where does it say that bravery is just being the tough guy and I'm the toughest guy in the house, or I'm the toughest guy in my family? That's not being brave. That's not what that
Being
is.
yourself, your own conscience.
If you want to be successful, if you want to truly be brave, either at Pineview or at high school or eventually your job or your career, if you want to have successful relationships, if you want to be successful in overcoming an addiction, if you want to be successful in life, it's not an option. You must be willing to go through some pain. Because only through hard work and pain are you going to earn the right to reach your goals,
To become a real boy.
to become a real, and eventually a real man. You must be willing to go through some pain, to confront the unknown. You need to confront even the monster or the monstro or the whale inside of you and tame it. I don't want any of you not to be a monster. You need to be a monster under control. You need to have bravery. You need to have a willingness to go out and tackle the world, and that starts with tackling a class and getting a good grade in class. It's tackling a goal. It's tackling maybe a rule at Pineview. It's tackling something that is hard for you. And you need to, in control and in conjunction with the goal, let that monster out. And smoke it out if you need to. And get it to sneeze and get it to cough. And because so many of you, I'm afraid I see it. So many of you are like, oh, I can't be brave because if I'm at all aggressive, it's going to turn bad. Real men have real aggression, but they keep that aggression under control. If you guys remember a long time ago, we talked about different warriors. We talked about there was a Roman warrior, there was the Japanese warrior, there was different warriors, and they were always very calm, even in battle. They were not going around freaking out and having their emotions just take them over. If they were going to be successful, they had to remain calm, cool, and collected. It's kind of like if you're in the midst of battle, your heartbeat never raises. That's what bravery is. Bravery is saying, I am kind of afraid of this. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to stay calm, I'm going to be self-controlled, and I'm going to move forward no matter what. Just like Bilbo in that scary tunnel, he moved forward. He didn't go back. He didn't freeze and stay where he was. If you want to be successful, you're going to have to be brave. It's just what it is. Pleasure Island is the culmination of hedonistic self-gratification. That's really all it is. Pleasure Island is only doing what makes you feel emotionally good in the moment. And you don't care about the consequences. That's what Pleasure Island is. It is the thing that takes you away from the real world. There's a reason why it's Pleasure Island. It's not part of the mainland. It's not part of the real world. It's off by itself, secluded. It's not a mountain to climb. It's something just to arrive at. It's the easy road. That's what Honest John and the Cat told Pinocchio. Don't go to school. Don't go home. Take the easy way out.
Here's my ticket.
Here's my ticket. He even gave him the ticket.
Well, which wasn't really a ticket.
It wasn't really a ticket, right? Yeah. Darn, I was going to use that as a question. I really was. I was going to say what was going to be the ticket. Yeah. But Dominic ruined it for everybody. That's okay. No, I'm teasing. It's okay. It's all right. I have other questions. I have other questions. It's okay. It's okay. I got other questions. Pleasure Island is the culmination of hedonistic self-gratification, and that is always temporary and always has consequences, either short-term or long-term. It just does. For you, for me, for others, Pleasure Island is different for every person. For some people, Pleasure Island is drugs. For some people, Pleasure Island is sex. For some people, Pleasure Island is getting lost and obsessed with a video game. It could be causing trouble or pain to yourself or those around you. We all have our own Pleasure Island that we run back to when we're not feeling good. And I'm telling you, we should not feel good sometimes. It's okay not to feel good sometimes.
Like what Braden tells us, he tells us sometimes pain is a good thing.
100%. That's another way of saying it. It's very true.
Doesn't mean you gotta
And
fight
just like the boys that went to Pleasure Island, they realized it was a what?
trick.
It was a trick. It was a trap. And they were being transformed not into real boys, but into donkeys. And what are donkeys? They are beasts of burden. They're only good for carrying heavy things, pulling heavy things. They're really dumb animals. That's why that there's horses, donkeys, and then do you know what the other one is?
Mules.
Mules. Why do you think we breeded horses with donkeys to make a mule? Because
donkeys are workhorses, and then
there's something up here with a donkey though that we didn't like.
dumber.
They're dumb.
Well, horses are smart, but donkeys have the strong will of like to.
You put those two together, a mule, all of a sudden you have a smart donkey, basically. So donkeys, they are dumb. They are so stubborn. They're so dumb. They're only good for really one thing. Yes, sir. I don't know, Caden. Caden, I'm glad you're back. I'm glad you're back, Caden.
Hold on, but if you think about it, right? I feel like they breeded a horse, a donkey, because donkeys work horses, horses fast.
Oh, I mean, and the size too, but horses are intelligent as well. And that was the biggest problem, is you could train a horse. I grew up with horses. You could train a horse much better. You can't train a donkey, really. I mean, kind of, but not really. Yeah. Your horse what? Really? So I've buried 4 horses in my life, yeah. Okay, if you stay too long on your Pleasure Island, whatever it is, you will turn into a donkey. You will grow up. Do you remember what the syndrome was with Peter Pan? Do you remember what that was? Peter Pan syndrome, do you guys remember what that was?
Yeah,
That,
you don't grow up.
that you don't grow up. That is you going from where you are. I'm not saying you guys are. I'm just saying people do this. They get trapped on their Pleasure Island, and time still ticks. They still become aged adults, and they become donkeys as men. I don't want you guys to be donkeys. I want you to be mules or even horses. I don't want you guys to be donkeys. There's a reason in the movie, there's a reason in the story. That's exactly what the boys turned into. They didn't turn into cats or dogs or birds. They turned into donkeys. So they're very, very intentional.
And if you think about it, you know what they also call donkeys?
Yeah, I'm aware. Yeah.
That also kind of goes with that.
It fits.
Too.
No, it really does.
You turn into a, if you don't.
So if we stay on our pleasure islands too long, we will turn into donkeys. And like Pinocchio's friend, we might cry out, Mom. All right. For sake of time, let me move on. Truthful. So we have bravery and now truthfulness. Truthfulness is this. It's being in accordance with what is actual. Being in accordance or living your life with what is factual or reality. It's accepting truth and living truthfully. If you do that, you will be on the road of the biggest adventure of your life. What we do every time we lie, or every time we are false, or every time we try to manipulate, we actually get off the road we're supposed to be on. So whatever happens to you in your life, if it's truthful, you're on the right road. Even if that means face consequences. If you mess up, if you do something you're not supposed to, if you're truthful about it, you just own up to it and say, yeah, I messed up, I did this, I did that. And then you're still on that right road because you can help yourself and others can help you. If you manipulate or if you lie about it, no one can really help you. And you therefore stay on your what?
Donkey.
Pleasure Island, and you become a donkey. If you act in truth, then the order you produce is good, even if that means consequences. The order or the direction is still good if you act in truth. Every time you do not embrace truth, you're getting off the right path. You're getting off the right path and onto the wrong one. Every time you embrace truth, you're getting back on the right path. Some of you have lived in falsehood for too long. Some of you have lived in falsehood for too long, and some of you who may have even lost at what true truth even is. And some of you see truth as your enemy. Now, why would you see truth as your enemy? Can anyone guess? Okay. Okay. I mean, that is being trapped in that lie. But what do you think would happen, or what had to have happened for someone to see truth as your enemy? What do you think, Caleb?
Truth as your enemy?
Why? Why would someone see truth as your enemy?
Pretty much to protect yourself. I mean, just like any of us. I bet we've all tried lying to the cops. We've all been there. And we just know that if something happened once, and you could, like, it's just scary because, like, you go to the principal's office and, like, you get accused of having a vape. Like, you get accused of having a vape. And in the past, you actually had a vape, and you lied about it, and then later found out about it. But then you feel
So
like,
they're going to assume you're lying again. Okay.
I ain't gonna lie, kind of like me when I first got here.
Okay.
Kind of like me when I first got here.
Right? But still, my question is, if someone sees truth as their enemy, why do you think that happened?
Because if you keep on lying to yourself about stuff, you can continue to make those actions. If you finally accept the truth and you accept that you have to change.
You're getting real close. You're getting real close, JJ. So let me say this, for sake of time, let me say this, JJ, just for sake of time. Oftentimes, someone will see truth as their enemy because in the past, truth hurt them.
That's what I'm
Is that basically what you're saying?
That's what I was trying to
So here's an example. You're in your bedroom and your mom's on the phone, and all of a sudden you're in a place where you can hear the conversation and you learn something about yourself or your family that you didn't know about. And so the truth hurt you, and therefore it became your enemy. Truth can hurt. It can really hurt. I have really tried to make it a practice of mine that when someone asks me a question, I try to be as truthful as possible, even to the point where if someone says, hey, how you doing today? What do we typically say? How you doing today?
Good.
Good.
Good, fine,
How are you?
whatever. I don't typically say that. I usually will go, I'll think for a minute. And then they look at me weird because they were looking just for a good or a fine, right? And I'll say something like,
Oh, I just want to jump off a bridge.
well, I mean, sometimes, depends on who I'm talking to. Sometimes I'll say something like, I'm a little anxious right now. I'll give them a truthful, I don't go into details, but I'll give them a truthful answer. And then they'll say something like, oh, well, hope you get that figured out. Bye. That's typically kind of what'll happen, But living in truth is the only way that we can stay on the path we're supposed to be on, and it's the only way that we're going to have the true adventure we were intended to have. Okay, for sake of time, let's move on.
We get this like
Unselfishness. Unselfishness was the third thing. This is a willingness to put others' needs or wants before your own. This is a willingness to put others' needs or wants before your own. Being unselfish does not mean that you're a scapegoat or a martyr. It doesn't mean that you take blame for things that you didn't do. That's not what I'm talking about. It means you're able to look at the needs of others and consider how you can be a positive force or effect on their life. Doesn't mean you fix all their problems. Doesn't mean you take all their problems away or take their burdens away. It just means that how can I help you within reason? How can I be of service to you, basically? And this does a few things to us, or for us. It helps you take some pressure off your own needs or shortcomings because you're able to take your eyes off yourself just for even maybe a minute. It helps you look beyond yourself just for a minute, and that takes some pressure off. If you're always so inward focused, if you're always so focused on yourself, I would get depressed too. If I'm constantly looking at myself and, I messed up there and I said that wrong and I didn't do that right and all these things, I get bummed out. But if I look at, say, what can I do for my daughter when I get home? What can I do for my mom? Can I pick her up something on the way home? Is there something, make dinner, whatever it is? A couple of you guys, I've challenged you with your home visits to do what with chores? Do you guys remember?
I did actually.
Robert, he's like, I did mine. Mark it down, Rodney. I did it. It was to do chores without what?
Asking.
Without them asking.
Hey,
Correct.
I
Correct.
cleaned the shower without asking.
Good job, Dominic. Good job. Gold stars all around. All right, hold on. I'm almost done.
when you're like listening.
Hold on. I'm almost done. Unselfish thinking. Here's another thing that it does. Come on, guys. Hold on. I'm almost done. Unselfish thinking invites you to be a part of something bigger than yourself. It allows you to look beyond yourself and get involved in something that's bigger than you. When you look outside of yourself, you find that there's much bigger things that you can be part of, and just being part of something bigger than yourself really gives you ultimately joy and happiness. And the third thing that it does is it gives you emotional fulfillment. It makes you feel good. I like doing nice things for my daughter. I like doing nice things for my mom or my sisters or whatever. It just makes me feel good. I love Christmas time. In a few weeks, you guys are going to have the Pineview Christmas here. Man, I love that. You guys get some really good gifts, and it's cool to see you guys open those gifts. And I don't get any gifts, and that's cool. I want to see you guys open those gifts. It's a lot of fun for me because I like being part of something bigger than myself that is serving someone else. It's just cool. It's just cool to me. It makes me feel good. Okay.
I know what I want for Christmas.
So life lessons again from Pinocchio is be brave,
Be honest.
be truthful or honest,
And
be unselfish. Okay.
Come on.
All right. You guys ready for prizes?
Yes, sir.
All right.